Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing?
Good, Bruce. I got a big hockey game tomorrow. The team that I'm on made the provincial finals, so we're
What?
going down to Red Deer.
Wowza.
Yeah, Div whatever it is, 5,000 I think. Div
Uh-huh.
5,000. Yeah,
So
5,000.
this is where you play on a defense pairing with your wife?
Yes.
That team?
Yeah. And Bruce, I just
Provincial
want to
finals, eh?
I haven't
Wow.
played hockey, organized hockey. I don't think I've played. I've been coaching extensively for 10
Right.
years now, but I haven't played in a game in probably like even outdoor on a rink, probably for about 15 years. And I haven't played on a team for probably 20, 25 years. And I just have to say, this is the most fun I've had in hockey in 25 years. It's easy to forget how much fun it is. The real thing about hockey, the
Hmm.
real thing about hockey is playing the damn game yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And I would just, I'd kind of forgotten that. And I want to encourage anyone who's out there and thinking, should I play this year? You can sign up as a spare on an adults team or in these various leagues. You don't even have to join a team; just sign up as a spare. But Bruce, I'm having a riot, and it is absolutely humbling and thrilling at the same time to play hockey again.
That's great. And you guys are obviously you must be doing something right if you're in the provincial finals.
Well, they made it when I we were in Europe on a trip. So
Okay. Oh, I
on our
see.
trip,
Okay.
so yeah, you know it's it's all about the tiering, right? Yeah, our team is doing something right. They won the games, but in hockey, except at the NHL where you have the very best in the world, every other level of hockey is tiered. You're not
Right.
playing against the best players. It's like who is your competition? Even in the AHL, you can send down that one player from the NHL and suddenly your AHL team is really good. So every other level of hockey, it's just about the playing and having fun, and the winning and losing comes down to essentially the tiering in a lot of ways. So it's just
Well, you
about
can
getting out
only
there.
you can only
But
beat the teams you line up against, right?
yeah. So you were at the Oilers practice today at Oiler Fan Day,
I
and today, Bruce, we're going to
I
talk about the lineups that you saw on the ice.
I was, yeah.
How
I
was it?
only I only saw half the team. I saw Group A. For whatever reason, they had a long practice with the one group. They sent them off, did the Zamboni, brought the same group back out there. So there was a whole bunch of the new guys that I'd hoped to see that'll have to wait for another day. Guys like Joachim Nygaard and
Yeah,
Gustav
yeah.
Haas and even Mike Smith and Michael Granlund, Thomas Yurko, guys we know a little bit from the NHL, but we've never seen them as Oilers. And I don't know about you, but I watch players very differently when they play on my team as opposed to when they play for other teams.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
don't even barely watch the other team when I watch the
uh,
even when
well,
I'm watching a game. I hardly watch. Like honestly, I hardly watch the
I,
other
I
team.
I focus
I just
on the
watch the
Oilers a
Oilers. I
lot because
focus on the Oilers.
That's who we're covering. But that's
Yeah,
always kind of the way I watch the game when I have a rooting interest. I watch my team first, and the other guys are just chess
some other guy
pieces,
might
right?
stand out, like some outstanding player,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
pitcher on the other team. So Bruce, let's go through the lineup and let's talk about each of the lines, and
Sure.
what they are now and where they think they might end up. And these are preliminary lines. There's about nine of them, I think, at camp, and
Hmm.
six or seven defense pairings. So we'll just whip through them. So the first one we don't have to say a whole heck of a lot about, other than um, although it's the one you focused on most in your
Yeah,
excellent
absolutely.
excellent blog post today,
Thank you.
Bruce. Another if anyone's out there wondering what a fine writer Bruce McCurdy is, just read that post. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you.
Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Cassian. So you
Oh,
saw McDavid with your own eyes, Bruce.
yeah.
What how do you look?
Oh, what a relief just to see him out there, And it took about 5 seconds of him getting the puck and doing about three or four crossovers right in a row, like only he can. I don't know of anybody else who quite skates like him, right? And right away,
I know
I'm
Guy
going,
Lafleur, Modano
oh,
come closest.
well,
Those,
yeah, I mean, they're
but
great
they were different.
skaters. But yeah,
Yeah.
this stuff that he does with the crossovers, like somebody did analyze one rush he made last year, and he made something like 11 crossovers on one rush. you know, what's that, right? Like I thought you did one or two and then you were on your way. But anyway, they're part of his. And as soon as I saw that, I felt this sort of huge relief because I think if your knee is acting up, you're not going to be that nimble, especially 2 weeks before the start of the season, right? I mean, the games for real don't start till October 2nd, and the worry up till now is he going to be ready for opening day? And I think they'll hold him out of a lot of the preseason games because he doesn't really need them. Uh, but he's he's good. There was one brief scare when he and Zach Cassian came together in front of the net, and McDavid went down easily. Like he did not resist. He just let his body fall away from the contact. And then he got up and he stumbled for odd reason and went down a second time. And no, no, it's like he tripped over the ice or something. And just for that brief moment, you're thinking, uh-oh. Uh, and a lot of people were going crazy saying, what are the Oilers doing putting him out there? Why isn't he wearing a non-contact? Or, well, this was a non-contact drill. They ran into each other, right? I mean, what are you going to do? Put the guy in a bubble?
He's
So,
earning $12.5 million a year to play hockey. He's got to play hockey.
yeah, that's right.
So and listen, they're not too much is on the line. All of this is we're not going to have another one of these Eric Lindros situations. This isn't the '90s anymore where you still had that hangover from the '80s almost of like playing when you have a gunshot wound to the head and you still get out there on the ice. That's not the attitude anymore. It isn't. I don't believe it is. And especially with a player like McDavid, they're taking their chances. Bruce, I just wanted to address one thing you were saying about his
Hmm.
skating.
Yeah,
For him to be skating technique is always advancing, and so for McDavid to be a much better skater than everybody else in the NHL right now, you said he's doing things you haven't seen before. That's what you have to do. Like, if you're
yeah,
going to be the best skater in the NHL and have this
sure.
gap between everybody else, you've got to have
Hmm.
a whole array, or at least, three or four little techniques, things that you're doing, nobody else is doing them. And that's
Hmm.
in the quickness of the feet and the crossovers. Who else does that? I mean, that's a
Yeah.
McDavid thing. And we're going to see that in the future. Other players are going to start to do that. But I don't think we have seen that in the
Yeah,
past.
but they
And
need
that's
to.
how he got the edge on the competition in the entire NHL right now by being this unique kind of technician.
There's some kid out there who's like 8 years old now who's watching every move that Connor McDavid makes. And when he makes it to the NHL in 10 years, he'll be able to do those same things. I mean, the people do learn some things from the great players. That said, uh, there are some great players, and I mentioned one of them in my post today, the great Wayne Gretzky, who cannot be emulated because of the way they process the
The
game.
game and the way the different way the game's played, like the tight checking of the game.
Mhm.
I think which would really significantly alters the amount of time and space players have. Gretzky took advantage of the time and space available at that time. I don't know. Could anyone come in and do what he did in terms of shedding attackers, stick handling around the ice? I mean, I
Oh.
that's what I don't know. If you had that kind of hockey IQ today, could you pull off those things because of
He, he too
there's no
was a
crappy defensemen in the NHL. Like I don't like they can all skate now. Not that they couldn't skate then, but they can really skate now.
Yeah, well, he too was a great skater, much underrated in his time, and I think to this day, and I heard people describe him as an average skater. I'm thinking, what are
Oh,
you even watching? You know,
he was
the
so
one,
agile.
the one step, first step towards the puck, like nobody I've ever seen, and the one-footed stops and changes of direction, and the ability to stop on a dime and cut to the other side into the open. Like there was a few things that he could do that. Anyway,
Okay,
no,
so
I
you
got
like Draisaitl's
I like
shot.
I like Draisaitl. I like he's just all over the puck, David. He's like he's got this addiction to the puck when he's standing around and they're even when they're between shifts and there's a puck hanging around, he'll just reach out and he'll pull it in and his hands are like absolutely uh unreal how soft his hands are. Like how he can handle a puck and just lift it up and the stick blade that he's using is like this great big paddle. Uh, and yet he uses it like a scalpel. And he was just dangling, passing in the normal way. But what he was really working on was his one-timers over and over and over and over again, away from they'd be attacking the net at one end, and Leon would be down at the other end, hammering pucks at the net, and they'd pass it behind him, in front of him, right in the sweet spot, wherever they put it. He would find a way to step into that puck and blast it, and almost always on the net, but always with real mustard on it. And and it's just something he continues to work on. And when he came into the NHL, I thought he's a pass first player. He may even be a pass first and second type player. And he can score some goals by going to the right places, but I didn't see him as a sniper. Well, now he is a sniper, and it's because he's worked his ass off at it. I'm convinced that, it's just the 10,000 hours of repetition, and
That,
you got to give guys credit for that, and especially if they do 15,000 hours.
you know, it, we tracked his scoring chance shots, how many he had last year, Bruce, and we expect players to score on about a quarter of their grade A chances. 25% of grade A chances go in. They have over the years, and I think they did last year the way we track them. So Draisaitl, based on that, should have had about 35 goals last year, based on his number of grade A chance shots. Now we're not tracking like double A shots. Like his
Right.
shots may be a little bit better than that. Like
Hmm.
they're wide open one timers on the power play, for instance. So those are like double A. But if you just go by grade A shots, he should have had about 35 goals last year. This has also backed up his high shooting percentage, 21%, when forwards usually get about 11 to 12% in the NHL. So there's a lot of players or a lot of people, and it's logical that he might kind of regress to the mean, that old saying, which is actually one of the great valuable things that the hockey analytics community has added to the discussion, because
Right.
it it's actually a real thing. It's hard to maintain a high shooting percentage, and if you pay someone based on that, you're probably going to be in trouble. On and on and on.
Right.
But here's the thing, Bruce. Yari Curry had that high shooting percentage year after year after
Year
year after
after
year. And
year.
if you get there are certain situations, and I'm not saying this is it, but there are certain situations where you get this combination of a great passer, a great attacker, and a great shooter, and they can make some magic happen for about 5 to 10 years together if you just let them work it out together. So, you know, my gut tells me Leon Draisaitl is going to score about 35 to 40 goals this year. Or not my gut, my head tells me 35 to 40 goals this year would be a reasonable expectation. 40 goals, pretty
Hmm.
good. But my heart's saying, go for 60. Go for
Well,
60.
yeah, who knows? I mean, Yari Curry, he shot over 25% 4 years in a row, and he shot over 20% 7 years in a row. And it's partly, uh, as you say, your grade A scoring chances, where you're shooting the puck from, and so on. But there's still that extra bit that isn't measured directly in just the scoring chances themselves. That's the execution of the shot. And if you have a plus plus shot, you're going to get more goals than your stats say you should get. And Leon is tending in that direction. Man, he gets so much power on his shot is so heavy and accurate, and he gets it away real fast. And he often gets it away in a situation of chaos where McDavid has bamboozled some defenseman or two, and all of a sudden there it is on Leon's stick, and he's eyeball to the eyeball of the goalie, and bam, off goes that hard, heavy shot. Well, some of those are going to hit the net.
So Bruce, they have Cassian playing with this group of players. I don't think we have to say much about that because we got a lot to go through here. Let's go
Don't
through the
don't
second line
don't
here.
hit McDavid. That's my only advice for
Yeah,
Cassian.
don't
Don't hit
don't don't
McDavid
think.
again.
I so we had a second line of Gagne, RNH, and Neal. Um, you know,
Didn't
I
see them play, but
it's interesting. Tyler Benson had a couple iffy Mag games in the rookie camp, and suddenly he's not on. He's certainly not on one of the big lines. It's Sam Gagner, the veteran, who's up there. And I don't think we're going to see James Neal, Sam Gagner, and RNH in the regular season. RNH, he's got to play with a. There was an interview he's craving. He wants to. He wants to combine. He wants to find his Leon Draisaitl. Essentially, he wants to
uh,
find somebody he can combine with, like he did with Taylor Hall and Eberle. He wants to find that kind of not be
sure.
in the McBlender, not have new line mates all the time. So I don't think I think Neal's going to end up on the top line probably. Although if Draisaitl, maybe not, but maybe Neal's going to be that guy. But I think they're going to need a guy with some real speed there, Bruce, or a
Yes.
guy. You know, I
Gagne
guess
and
Tyler
Neal are
Benson's
not a
more like a
fast
Sam
comp.
Gagner. Yeah, but I think it's going to be Nygaard. and Nygaard's right now on a line with Colby Cave and Patrick Russell. So they're not starting. They're not doing him any favors. Nothing wrong with Colby Cave and Patrick Russell as players. They're hardworking guys, but they're going to be hard pressed to make the Oilers this year. But Nygaard, I think he is going to be. If I had to make a bet, who's going to play the most games on the left wing with RNH, it'll be him. What say you?
Yeah, well, if you're going to put speed on that line, you're not going to probably put both Neal and Gagne there. Because I mean, Nuge is a good skater, but I'm not sure he's classified as a burner, and you want a burner on one wing, and Nygaard is probably the obvious choice of what we've got available. Um, but for now, they have Neal and Gagne both playing on their off wings.
I like
So
that.
yeah, that's interesting for sure.
I think that's a good idea. I don't know why they don't do it more, even at even strength. Like you just such an advantage in terms of your shooting position, getting a pass over there, being on your off wing. I know it's a bit of a disadvantage picking the puck off the boards, but I think you can work on that. And I don't think it's like a defenseman in your own zone, for instance. I think it's a little easier. So I like that off wing stuff. I like it. I love it on the power play. In fact, I think it's a sign of coaching incompetence, as I've often said. If it's not seen on the power play, when we saw Boston and St. Louis in the power play, Bruce, did we see players on their off wings on the power play in the Stanley Cup final? Yes, we did.
It's
And
pretty standard fare in the modern NHL.
yeah, except on the
One time.
Oilers.
One
Except on the
timers, the puck gets to you a little quicker and you're shooting from a better angle. So it's like two small bits that add up to a big difference.
the third line. Riley Sheehan, Archibald, and Kara, you were saying in your thing that they were at the other end of the ice, so you didn't get a good closer look at them. What do you think of the idea of that line, at least?
It looked like an NHL line. I mean, I did see them from a distance. They didn't do anything that stood out other than they all looked competent, like they knew what they were doing. They were going about their business. They look like to me like a potential line. I'd be surprised if we don't see them in at least one or two exhibition games if that's how they've lined up to start camp. All along, I've thought, yeah, Archibald and Sheahan, well, all along since they signed Sheahan, I thought Archibald and Sheahan were a natural pair of even strength and on the penalty kill. And whether the left winger was Granlund or Kara, turns out that for now, at least, it's Kara, and why not? I mean, they're three bottom sixers. Let's see how they click.
Yeah, I was such a fan of that player of Jujar when he first came up. Like he just did everything right. Like he worked his way up from a fourth line guy in the AHL to be the best player on that team, and the guy they sent on overtime, played all the situations, had really become a dominant AHL player, and he looked ready to be an NHL player. What a step back he took last year, Bruce. I don't know, was he bang? Like, I guess he was hurt now and then. He got suspended at one point. He's got to play the way he can play. Like so many players on the Oilers had crap seasons last year. Larson, Nurse, Clefbaum, I think, just didn't come close to their potential. Kara, these guys have got to start to play the games they can play for the Edmonton Oilers, and it's going to be so disappointing if that group of players and others on the team don't raise the level of their play this season. I've got a mosquito
It
in here.
was it was odd. It was odd that last season, like before that suspension, Kara was playing the best he's played.
With
I
Puljujärvi
think
and
he had,
RNH on the same
yeah,
line.
that's right. He got 8 points in 10 games in December, and then he got into that confrontation with Vince Dunn, and where he got cross-checked high, and he retaliated with a cross-check that was higher, and he got suspended for 2 games. By the time he came back after Christmas, it was like 12 days later because there'd been a couple of waits besides the 2 games off, and he just never found that form ever again. And the little point streak he had, mostly assists. I mean, he only got 3 goals all year. I mean, how is that? I mean, he had 11 the year before, and he fell all the way down to three. It was like the whole bottom six was snake bit around the net. But I'd like to think he's going to be a lot better than 3 goals. And the Oilers giving him a 2-year contract at 1.2 million. Obviously, they think the same.
So, Bruce, how many goals do you think? I was having a little argument or debate or conversation on Twitter with my old boss, Murdoch Davis, about this.
Hmm.
How many goals do you think that line? So I think they will score between. I think they're going to score at least 30 goals, and I think that's going to be. I think that's okay. Like if they can score 30 goals, That's okay.
10 goals each. That's not bad.
You think they'll do it?
Maybe. Yeah, I saw you said 35 in your articles, and I thought you said even strength goals. Now, that's a bit of a stretch, but for sure, most of what they do get will be at even strength.
I
Those
get
aren't
it.
power players.
Oh, what can I
And
say?
I'm thinking 10, 12 goals. I mean, that's the track record. I mean, last year Sheehan had 9, Archibald had 12,
Well, they
and
better be even strength.
Kara had 11 the year before. So I mean, they're all in the range of being 10 goal scorers.
I did say 35. I said if they could muster 35 even strength goals on the attack between them, that would be something
All their
special.
goals are going to be even strength. They might get a
Yeah,
shorty or two.
yeah. So can can they get 35 even strength? That's like 12 goals each. That would be
That
fantastic.
would be good. Yeah.
And I think like they've all done it, haven't they? Or
Hmm.
I don't know if Kara scored 12. Did he score 11?
You got 11.
Um, so, but fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. Okay. Moving on to the next line, we got. Sorry, Bruce. Granlund, Haas, and Hebig was a line. What did you see Haas play?
No, they were not. That whole trio wasn't out there. They're all in Group B. So the lines are either Group A or Group B. So either saw all three guys or none of them. In this case, none.
I think Granlund and Haas are making the Oilers.
I do too. I'm looking forward to seeing them hopefully as soon as tomorrow.
Yeah, Yurko, Marody, Chason.
They weren't out there either.
It sounds like I thought Marody was actually not bad in his second game again in just
Second game
carrying the
was good.
puck and
He was getting a lot of crap from people who wanted him to score a bunch of points, but I thought his game was fine. He just,
yeah.
he, anyway.
I expect we'll see Chason on the fourth line. So Chason, Haas and Granlund,
Hmm.
the fourth line perhaps. Um,
I'm
which
sure
is again
Brandon himself probably has designs on the second line, but we'll see.
oh, that'll
He,
be a stretch. But it's possible.
he scored 19 goals there not that many years ago, and the Oilers aren't exactly blessed with goal scoring talent. And when I say he has designs on the line, well, so do a lot of guys. I'm sure Josh Archibald probably does too. It doesn't make him a second line winger. Just saying, somebody's going to get moved up out of necessity. Do you think it'll be Sam Gagner?
I
You
think it'll
know?
be like I said, Nygaard.
Yeah.
Okay, we had a line of Benson, McLeod, and Yamamoto, which you did see.
Yes, I did.
So
I
how did
liked him.
Benson look?
Oh, he looks good. I liked him. He's such a slick passer that it's sort of easy to almost not rate what he does because he makes it look pretty easy when he puts the puck through and on somebody's tape. But he's got a real knack for that. And I mean, in today's drills, I'm not sure that we saw necessarily the creative side of it. But there was one play where there was a give and go where Yamamoto fed the puck to Benson and burst into the slot, and Benson made some sort of wizard pass. It was like he wasn't even looking at him. I think he did behind the back, right onto Yamamoto's tape, alone in the slot, and then he tried to send to McLeod rather than just wiring it from perfect scoring
Yeah,
position. Sometimes those young guys got to learn. The extra pretty pass. You don't always need to do that. Sometimes a rebound works just as good, and there's no rebound because the puck's in the net. That's even better, right? So shoot.
what I'd like to see is Nugent Hopkins get some chemistry with either Nygaard or Benson. One of those
Yeah.
two young guys. Well, I guess Nygaard's not the same age as RNH, I
Well,
guess. But
he's
one of
new.
those two new guys, and possibly like it's probably asking too much. Like, how about a line of if Nygaard plays his off wing with Benson and RNH? I mean, that'd be exciting. And if can we not have one year or some young forward other than I guess we saw with Draisaitl comes in and surprises us and shakes and bakes at the NHL level and puts up I guess a point every second game at least. Like that'd be
I
nice.
want to see Glenn Anderson in 1980-81. That's
Me
what I
too,
want.
Bruce. That's what I want to do. That's
coming
our
out of
problem.
no, com- Coming in as rookie and
That's exactly
filling
what's
it in.
wrong with us
Yeah,
as Oiler fans.
I know. We shouldn't
All
think
right.
like that.
It's okay. It's okay, man. Uh, all right. There's a line of Josh Curry, uh, Brad Malone, and Joe Gambardella, and I think
Saw
Joe
them today.
Gambardella was probably pretty darn disappointed that he wasn't on maybe a little higher up in the batting order.
AHL vet line. All three of those guys, like
Yeah,
they're match set in a way, and they're all 20, 25 plus year old guys that have. I mean, they were all big players on the Bakersfield Condors last year,
and will be
and
again most likely this year.
they've all been on the team for at least 2 years. And last year, they had good years, those guys, and that's where the arrows point right now is that they're tweeners, that they could be call-up players, and uh, it's possible that one of them makes the team out of camp, but I wouldn't put big money on any one of them because they're there if other people fail.
I could
Like
see
if
Gambardella making it as the 13th or 14th forward.
yeah,
You saw Maximov. Who was on his line? Was Safin on his line? Who was with
and
him?
Safin was out there. They had like a couple of lines that seemed to have about four players on them. Like they
Yeah.
had
Okay.
Luke Esposito was
Oh
there,
yeah.
and Anthony Peluso
Oh
was
yeah.
out there, and and they didn't seem to have like set lines. So it seemed like because the other trios played as trios throughout the practice, and so because they have uh, 16
Uneven numbers.
forwards in each group, they can't really make full sets of all lines. So we saw, uh, I think, four full lines, and then the other guys were just kind of three of the four would play together at a given moment.
Okay, we got Nurse and Larson as a defense pairing, and they actually have played together a considerable amount in the last few
Hmm.
years. 1,000 minutes, I think it was either in the last 2 or 3 years. That surprised me that they have been out already so much together as a pairing in the NHL. And again, I've been saying this. Both those guys have a lot to prove this year. They need to bring their A game. They need to.
Yes.
And most of all, well, not most. There's both. They got to pass the puck better, and they've got to against tough competition. They are being paid, and they are in the NHL as shut down defensemen against tough competition, and they need to get that done. They didn't. They weren't close enough last year. They leaked too many goals and scoring chances against Bruce, and whew, we'll see, man. I don't
Now,
know. They're
Larson is at the crossroads. He's been an outscoring player in New Jersey and his first 2 years in Edmonton. But last year it was a bloodletting. Anytime Larson was on the ice, that red light was going on. It was just
and Nurse.
horrible. Yeah, well, Larson in particular, like he got outscored. Larson at 5v5 last year, he was on the ice for 45 goals for and 77 against, minus 32 at even strength 5v5. He worst in the league, and that just can't happen. And some of it might be circumstantial, some of it might be goaltending. Goalies had bad moments when he happened to be on the ice, but I think some of the bad moments were because he was getting beat.
You
And
also, yeah, you saw Clefbaum in person.
yes,
How did they look?
Klefbom, I almost didn't notice him. I mean, he just did what Klefbom does. And, there was no, the defensemen were in some ways rote players in the breakout drills, pass to him, they pass it up. And he didn't really stand out. I was paying way more attention to Pearson. And he was, um, I mean, even paying attention to him, it's pretty hard to tell from a workout. You can see the guy's got skill. You can see, the tape to tape pass is part of his game. He looked mobile enough. His defensive play was, get in the right position, keep my stick alive, tack that puck, not battle the puck carrier, but take the puck. And uh, on the surface, he looked okay. Of course, I saw him out there, a little righty guy wearing number 36, and I can't help but think Philip Larson the second. This is
Yeah,
just what we need. I mentioned Philip Larson earlier in the summer as, like Joel Paris is more likely to be like Philip Larson than he is like John Klingberg, is what I think I wrote. And uh, giving him Larson's old number isn't going to help me in evaluating him because I'm going to make that connection. But of course, he's not Philip Larson. He's Joel Person, and he is his own person, and he's going to make his way. But I can't honestly say. that off of what I saw today, I'm saying, oh man, he's just stood out, or there's not a chance. I mean, he's in the big mushy middle, and
Yeah.
let's see scrimmages and preseason games and NHL games, and in a while maybe we'll have a better chance to judge. This is very, very early.
So, Bruce, in criticizing the three defensemen, Clefbaum, Larson, and Nurse, I grouped them all together as having defensive weaknesses. And the
Uh-huh.
way we track, looking at videotape and looking for mistakes on scoring chances against, they're all have about the same numbers in terms of making major mistakes on goals against
Mhm.
and making major mistakes on grade A scoring chances against. And they're all significantly worse than Chris Russell. I know Chris Russell has this bad reputation, but one of the reasons that I think better of him is Russell is very good at limiting goals and grade A scoring chances against compared to these other guys. And that's a valuable skill to have. Clefbaum is a far superior puck mover to Chris
Yes.
Russell. I'll give Clefbaum that. But Clefbaum, Nurse, and Larson were a big part of the problem last year, and they've got to play better. All right. Uh, Moving on with defense pairings, we have, well, Russell has got a concussion.
Yeah.
Uh,
I guess he ran into somebody at one of the pre-camp workouts and
Hopefully not serious.
conked his head, and he's under concussion protocol. So typically that means a week. So
So we got Lagesson and Bouchard together. Did you see
no,
them?
no, no,
Okay.
no sign of them.
Oh, a side note on Bouchard. Craig
Hmm?
Button last January left Evan
You
Bouchard
haven't
out.
forgiven him yet, have you?
I didn't blame him then, Bruce. I respect like a lot of people don't like Craig Button, but I like
Oh,
I like his work and I
I do
like I like
too.
his. He seems I've interviewed him once. He was a fantastic guy to talk to.
Hmm?
I think he's knowledgeable, and I
Hmm.
took it. You know what? He said Bouchard's got to get faster. Maybe Evan Bouchard listened to Craig Button. Maybe Craig Button
Maybe
did
he
us a
did. Yeah,
favor.
yeah,
Maybe he lit
maybe
a
he did.
fire under him because Evan Bouchard does look faster in those
He
first two
does.
games than I can remember seeing him. Okay, so Button had him outside the top 50 NHL affiliated prospects, and Corey Pronman of the Athletic had him at number 26. More just as interesting, he had Philip Broberg, the Oilers' top pick, at number 17, and I think they were the fourth and sixth rated defenseman overall.
Nice.
And of course, we just got a little snippet of Broberg today on the internet.
Oh,
It's the Omar moment where you're judging a player by his highlight reel. But man, Bruce,
that play.
that guy can fly. And it's not just that play. When he was
Yeah.
playing in the summer at that tournament, he was flying. That guy
Hmm.
can fly up the ice. It's
Yeah.
very heartening.
Well, he comes in on two defensemen, and he somehow gets through both the defensemen, and then does a spinorama and almost beat the goalie. Had to make a great save, or that would have been an absolute highlight reel goal. The video, if you missed it, it's on Twitter, of course, but read my post. It's at the bottom of my post. I couldn't
Yeah.
resist putting it in there because it's the best thing I saw all day, I think, other than McDavid
I think it
skating.
might have been an overtime play. I don't know if they play 3-on-3 there. He's playing for Skellefteå, his team.
It was, the little clock said it was tied late in the third period.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So he was going for the win.
All
It was
right.
big time play.
And I love head coach at Skellefteå
Hmm.
said he's the most talented young defenseman I think he's ever seen, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe
Seen
since
since
Freddie
Frederick
Olofsson.
Olofsson.
And we all chuckle because we kind of don't think of Freddie in Edmonton. Freddie Olofsson as a great
Well,
player
we'd
necessarily
like to
because he
hope that
got burnt by the Jets. He was on the Jets, and they all got burnt by the Oilers so much in the '80s. But Freddie
Mhm.
Olofsson played
He's a
more
good
than a
player.
thousand NHL
Very good
games.
player. Very good player. But you'd like to hope the bar is even higher than that. Like he was a
Yeah,
very good player. No one would ever confuse him with being a great player. And of course, you want your dark horse draft pick to be a great player, no less. And
yeah.
anyway, this was a great play and another good sign of a guy who's just pure athletic um, skill set. It created something out of nothing, and it was something to watch.
Well, what I liked about the coach's comment is one of the keys for Broberg this year is how much ice time he gets at
Yeah.
Skellefteå. And so, the worry is that he's going to get closer to 9 minutes at worst
Yeah.
or 13, 14 minutes, which would be
Mhm.
okay. But there's a group of defensemen there who got 17 to 20 minutes, and you want him to be in that category. So if his coach is so thrilled about him, I'm thinking, all right, go coach, play that kid, give him ice time. All right, Sam
Well, that
Rurikov.
guy. the Russian guy that Vancouver draft, Podzolkin or whatever his name was, that
Yeah,
played
Pod
in the
Colton.
Linka last year. Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Apparently, he's played 3 games so far. Of the 4 games he's played, he's had under 1 minute, less than 1 minute in 3 of the 4 games. How you like that if you're a Vancouver fan? Probably
Not
not.
much. And only Yoel Levy, did he hurt his leg, or was he tired? And maybe I just saw some tweet. I don't think he's hurt. And he hurt his leg one drill. I'm sure he's fine. Okay, Dmitry Samarukov and Caleb Jones. Did you see them?
Yeah, no, no, neither of the AHL pairs, like the Bouchard and Lagesson pair, or the Jones and Samorukov pair. The only AHLer we saw today was Ethan Bear.
And you saw Keegan Lowe and Ethan Bear. How did
Oh
they look?
well, yeah, Keegan yeah. Pardon
How
me,
did
using
Bear look?
AHL. Bear looked real good, real good. I've been hearing lots of good buzz about him, and of course, there's a counter buzz saying, "Well, the organization must be putting out the push on Ethan Bear." But I saw what I saw. One thing that struck me was how small he looked, and it's funny because the other day one of it's maybe Bob Stauffer or someone said that he looked bigger than he remembered. But when you saw him out there against a whole bunch of other, and some of these guys are behemoths, right? I mean, Vince DeHarnay is a giant. And Bear looked, he was the size of Joel Pearson, 5'11", and he looked like one of those smaller, mobile, puck-moving defensemen, and he fit all of that. And he was moving the puck, and he made one play that I loved, where he was kind of tootling back, and he had a winger coming on him on the check, and all of a sudden he did this sharp turn up the boards, and he was gone. The winger was in the rear view, and Bear was crushing it into the neutral zone with nobody on him in time to make his pass. That's the old Claire Drake quick reverse up the boards. He used to teach that. He taught that to Randy Gregg. Claire
Is that
Drake
like the
did, among
Savardi
other players.
spinorama?
Yeah, kind of, but it's yeah, it's just
You're
in
kind of
your
the
own
guys,
in your own
the
zone.
guy's trailing you, and you're skating
Yeah,
back towards your goalie, and then suddenly you
and then
cut
at
the
the
other way.
hash marks, you just turn and cut right up the side wall and away from the traffic, and it takes a sudden move and good puck control. And anyway, he made that move without a problem, and he beat Mikko Koskinen, which is another story, but he beat him with a point shot that seemed to take no effort whatsoever. Like the puck came back to the point, the guy was coming out to, get in the shooting lane, and it was like no windup. It wasn't even a wrist shot windup. It's just like he flicked it. Puck hit his stick and he flicked it, boom, in the net, right through Koskinen. And you might look at
Oh,
that and ask questions about Koskinen, but I was thinking that's a pretty impressive shot for like zero windup. And he really puts, and when he did wind up, he really really hammered one shot that where he had a chance to step into it.
he's always been able to shoot, and
Yeah.
he's always been able to pass. So, but the thing has been his skating, and it's interesting that you say maybe he was the common denominator. One of the things I'm hearing from maybe two, three, four, they've come to camp lighter. I've heard about Dry. I think like the NHL
Hmm.
is getting faster, and these guys and like
Nurse is later apparently he lost 10
Nurse,
pounds.
that was another guy. So that's really interesting. And Bear, maybe Bear's got he said he had, kind of screwed around in the past in the summer, didn't work out hard enough, and really dedicated himself this summer to make the difference for Ethan Bear because he's got undeniable passing and shooting talent.
Hmm.
It's all about the defense. And, being a little guy, Jared Spurgeon's just a little guy, and
Yeah,
he
well,
just
yeah,
signed
it's possible to
what a
succeed.
50, what was it, 7 years, 55 million or something? I can't remember,
Uh,
but a lot of money for a
yeah.
30-year-old defense. But that's another story.
But it is possible to succeed as the
Sure is.
smaller puck moving D man, and then we've seen tons of examples over the years. I mean, remember Brian Rafalski is an example of a guy, physically you look at him and you say, how's he even survive in this league? And he more than survived; he thrived to the verge of dominating.
Well, look at the
And I'm not,
Astros.
yeah, I'm not saying that's Ethan Bear. I'm just saying it's possible for smaller defensemen to do well. But Bear, I was looking for Pearson, and the puck would come back to the end because there was 4 righties and 3 lefties. Some shifts you'd see him on the one side or the other side, and the puck would come back to this small right shot defenseman. I think, oh, there's Pearson. Oh no, it's not Pearson, it's Bear, and they're roughly the same
Well,
general
think about
size.
it. Bear's not that much younger than Person, a couple years. He's
Mhm.
got way more experience in North American hockey. He's
Mm.
had, he was a good player in the AHL last year. He got hurt too much, but he was
Yeah.
a really good player when he played. He's got to be he must be steamed. Like hopefully he's been reading all those articles, just like Evan
Hmm.
Bouchard was so inspired by Craig Button's comment.
Oh.
Evan Bouchard's got to be reading all that. Well, Joel Pearson's going to be making the orders and thinking, damn, that's not happening. Like that's my job. I'm having that
Yeah.
job. So
And
hopefully he's been.
Ethan Bear is probably thinking, those tools at the Cult of Hockey got me ranked ninth. I'm going to show those guys. So,
What did you have him? What did you vote him? I think I
yeah,
probably had him.
well,
I probably had him around 10th or 11th.
we collectively had him ninth. I can't remember specifically who put him where, but we were fairly close. He was in the
Yeah,
cluster of defensemen, but just under the other, Lagerson and Jones and so on.
yeah.
But he's in there with a fighting chance. I mean, our rankings to Dave Tippett mean nothing. He's looking at the players that are showing up to camp, and Easton Bear is making his case. Good on him. I hope he does well. I'm rooting for him.
Well, Bruce, we're at the magic mark where Kurt said you guys don't want to go over that in terms of length of
Okay.
podcasts. We listen to Kurt
Okay.
Levitt.
And right, and
He's
we don't want to talk about the goalies anyway, really, do we?
no, it's not. It's too early. Come on, it's too
I
early.
didn't see Mike Smith. I didn't learn anything about Koskinen or Starrett
Yeah,
or Roy in today's not Wells, Dylan Wells in today's workout. We'll hopefully see them tomorrow. I'm hoping to get down there to see the. I guess they're giving out the Joey Moss Cup, so it sounds like maybe all the players or all the top players will be in tomorrow's workout. So that's
I wish I
at
could go. I
noontime.
can't. I'm
You're
gonna
you're in
be.
the provincial
I'm
finals.
heading to Red Deer, man. We're gonna
Oh,
get down there for the pregame meal. So, all
Centrium?
right, sushi.
Where, where are you playing?
Where at the Centrium? Yeah,
At Centrium? Great. What
yeah.
a great rink. I love that rink. I was there last weekend. It was just, I've always enjoyed that rink. Fun place to play, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
So
All
good luck
right.
tomorrow.
Thanks, Bruce. All right. Thanks for talking.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.